Yes, we are live. As you know, it's me, Queen P.R, one half of those wrestling girls. Shout out to Krista B. I hope y'all watched her on Ring the Bell live this afternoon. But it's me for another edition of TWG Fan Club. My excuse to get on live and talk shit about women's wrestling as per usual. And we have a very, very special panel. We're going to go into that Chyna documentary. We're going to review Black Wrestling Podcast 50 list. We're going to celebrate Juneteenth. We're going to talk a lot about a lot of different things. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Of course, we'll be doing a live giveaway at the end of the show, so make sure you tune in for that. So I just really want to get our guests on here because I'm really excited about this. So as you know, if you guys follow those wrestling girls, we've always sort of been like a female-driven platform. We kind of always just had women on the show. We will always primarily be a female-driven brand. We will always cover women's wrestling, but we had to expand our panel, especially when it's family. And we talk about Job and Tears podcast all the fucking time because honestly, I don't think we would be where we are without their support from the very beginning. And they represent New York and they're fucking Black excellence. So I want to welcome Sir Wilkins to the show. Hi.
Hi, what's going on? How is everybody doing? What's up? It's Happy, Mr. I Like Honey.
You're going in and out. Yeah, you're going in and out.
Do you hear me now?
Mm-mm.
Do you hear me now? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, it's like going like in and out.
Take me out and come me back in.
All right, definitely will. Yeah, I know how this goes. Technical difficulties, especially when you go live. So next, we have another special guest who is also family, and you've probably seen her on TV. She is such Krista B and I admire her so much because she's killing it in basketball and pretty much everything that she does. So I'm gonna let Britt Waters introduce herself again to everyone. I'm so glad you can make it. Like you're always so like I'm so glad that you're here.
I am so glad that you're having me here. Happy Juneteenth, Queen.
Yes.
And you guys are such fans to me too. I almost kidnapped Krista, but I gave her back.
Oh.
But like she said,
that.
I'm Britt Waters. You can follow me at It's Britt Waters. I do wrestling content on Instagram and TikTok.
Yes. And you mentioned it. Yep. TikTok. Yep, definitely. So I'm gonna bring Wilkins back to the party.
Do you guys hear me now?
Yes. Much better now.
Somebody called me. That's why. So it messed up the whole mic and everything.
God.
Well, I'm back.
That's what happened.
I'm back. My name is Sir Wilkins. I'm not popular at all. My name is Sir Wilkins. But thank you, Britt, for making me feel special. I appreciate that. My name is Sir Wilkins of the Job and Tears podcast, 1/3 of that. I like honey glazed turkey, chocolate. Don't hate, Britt. You're hating already. We just started the show. We'll go into
I see her face. She's
a hater. But thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. We support everything you guys do because we think you guys are absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you guys are amazing. And quick plug, Hell in a Cell viewing party for all my New Yorkers, anyone in the tri-state area at Legends. Krista B and I actually might be popping in, so we will hope to see all of y'all there.
First drink on me.
Y'all giving away stuff again? Y'all used to give away the belts.
We're giving one away for SummerSlam because we have a lot of people coming from like literally all over. That's like to come to this one. So we're gonna give some belts away, T-shirts, a whole extravaganza per se.
I mean, I never win, but I'll have to come back.
And I spent bread last time at WrestleMania too, and I was like, I have to win. Like I did not win.
You know what's funny? The people that win, the people that usually win, spend like $5. They'll spend like $2, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or buy like 3 tickets the most, and I'm just like, yo, how is this possible?
Nah, me and Brian gonna pull up on you and buy it all.
I think you should come to SummerSlam because we have a lot of podcasters from like if you're not going to actual SummerSlam, we have a lot of podcasters within the community that told me they were going to come by. And we're also showing the Pacquiao fight if you're interested in like boxing as well. So we have 3 floors. So it's going to be a Black Excellence movie.
Oh, I love it.
Let's do it.
I love it. So next, I want to bring on a regular Those Wrestling Girls contributor, the beautiful Eva, all the way from Texas. Hey, girl.
I'm here,
Welcome.
and I hope you know how much I love you because it is so hot, but the AC is so loud that I'm without AC for our time together. So that's how much I love you. Because
I
otherwise
really
you
appreciate
would
that
feel
because I have a fan literally directed at me right now. I don't even care if the mic catches it because it's that hot. I'm like, no, that's fine. And I had to wear this t-shirt. It's super hot, but I had to wear it today. Like it just felt right. So I'm looking at our back room, and I have 2 surprises for you guys. So, hey, girl.
Wait, I was like, is she gonna call me up or she gonna call the other surprise up? Like, what's going on?
I was like, what else is she doing? Like, where is she? Is she at brunch? What's happening?
No, I was just on Ring the Bells live stream just now. And I was texting P and I'm like, I'm already on my computer. I'm gonna jump in, pop in, because I was gonna do a sound off about this, but I feel like this would be the proper setting to do it. So I'm here.
Yay. So we were actually going to talk about the Chyna doc first, but I kind of want to talk about Black Wrestling. Shout out to them. And they released their top 50 Black professional wrestlers of this year. And I just want to, just commend them because those lists take a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication, the marketing and everything that comes behind it. They did a YouTube live today doing the top 10. So I would love, first off, to hear your thoughts on that list. And we might have someone from Black Wrestling Podcast join us. Like, should I just let him in?
Let him in. Let him in.
Hopefully it's my favorite.
Hey. Oh, he's my favorite.
I was like, I pray it's my favorite and not my least favorite.
Wait, who's your least favorite?
That's
I
my
ain't saying
cousin.
no names.
Oh, okay.
My cousin.
Names to be dropped on here.
Gotcha. welcome.
I'm sorry.
Right? Introduce yourself to the public.
Hey man, Illfan79 on your social media choice, but just Mr. I'm responding to your comments at this point because everybody is I had to turn the notifications off at this point.
Oh, I can only imagine.
But I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we're fancy. She pulled it up.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm trying.
Like I'm in class right
Out here
now.
looking legit, okay? Come on, sis.
Right. So I want to hear from you. Like, I know you did one last year, but what made you guys be like, you know what, we need to do because everyone's familiar with the PWI list. Shout out to Kevin, he's amazing. But obviously this list is needed. But when did you guys kind of come together and be like, all right, we need to do this?
So this is actually the 3rd annual BRP 50. It's just a kind of a brainchild of really Matt. I'm gonna be honest, Matt is the engine behind the BRP, and we kind of follow up. But it's just we saw, like shout out, we had a homeboy just post an old PWI, you know what I'm saying, 500 list, and the first familiar or similar looking face popped up at it was like sub 20, or it might have been 20, and it just is like, well, I don't know, we don't have anything that really shines a light on Black professional wrestling. We didn't have as many outlets beforehand when we started 3 years ago. Shout out to everybody in here that has been working and grinding. But yeah, we saw a space and an opportunity, and we decided to put the work in.
I appreciate that. And and the list has a good mix of like the major promotions, indie promotions. Like it's a pretty good list. I don't want to go through all of them. But Naomi was number 48.
Yeah, I have an issue with that. Thanks.
It's not an all-time list. Do remember.
Huh?
It's not an all-time list. It's from May to May.
Yes,
It's
from
from May
That's
of
like
last
the
year,
comment.
right?
You need to
Okay,
copy
I get it
paste.
now. Never mind. Never mind. I got it. Understood. That was like a new one for me. Okay.
I be looking at the rule at the comments, and I'm like, people really don't read the rules before they go and shed their opinion.
Right.
Hello.
I wanted her to be higher. I was tight. I wanted her to be higher, but I mean, when you start looking like, man, they really didn't use her like they should have.
That's true.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Since we're on the topic of Naomi, and she was a part of a very interesting debut this week. Wilkins, I want to know how you felt about that debut, because you tend to have polarizing takes. So I would love to know how you felt about the debut of Eva Marie. You know, did Naomi need to be involved? How they are branding Piper Nevins? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So first things first, Piper Nevins is fucking amazing. I can curse, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Too late now.
Well, maybe I made a mistake the first time, and I'm trying to like pull it back. But anyways, Piper Nevins is amazing. I've watched the NXT UK, and her coming on the main roster, that's some good seasoning coming on the stale ass food that we've been eating from WWE Raw recently. Her coming with Eva Marie, I'm with it. Eva Marie got real life heat. Majority of IWC hates her. I love it. If you can pull that much heat without doing nothing, I see you, Chrissy. I see you over there making a face. So let me explain something.
Hold on, let me sit up for this. Hold on.
That poster went up about 6 p.m. Eastern. WWE put it up. Naomi versus Eva Marie. My timeline was ridiculous. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my. When was the last time somebody debuted and got that much heat?
But that's not just off of Eva. That's off the strength of Naomi. They knew exactly what they were doing.
No.
Naomi
great.
trends all the time. So you're like, let's take the person that they say deserves more and take the person that they say deserves less and put them together. They were definitely trolling us.
Of course. But you know what? It got everybody's attention. Regardless of what happened, it got everybody's attention. Now, my issue is, and I told a couple of my homies this, and they were pushing against me. You gonna bring out Piper and against Naomi? People was like, oh, it's a surprise attack. I get it. But if they don't continue a storyline with them two, you just shit on Naomi's whole career within seconds. That's my issue with it. Right. Now, if they continue it on, which they should, and be like, yo, listen, I got attacked. I didn't know what was coming for me. They play on it, then that's something good. But I didn't really like how they did it, and I didn't like the fact that they erased Piper's whole history in NXT UK, act like they don't know who this chick is, and she killed it in the independent scene and destroyed NXT UK's women division amazingly. Now, even Marie should win Money in the Bank, because I want more heat, and make this interesting. Y'all all rolling your eyes right now. Let's make this interesting.
She doesn't need that. Heat. She already has heat. She doesn't need that.
Add even more. I want nuclear heat.
She doesn't need more
Make her
heat,
win Money in the Bank.
Someone else needs that opportunity.
And then we take it back. We take it from her. We do it all the time. Didn't the Miz get the Money in the Bank from Otis? Mm-hmm. We talk about being creative. Let's be creative. Let's have some fun with it. Eva Marie wins it. Everybody's pissed. Everybody's pissed off.
Nah.
And we find somebody to take it off of her. Let's be creative. I'm just saying let's be creative. Huh?
Is Eva Marie wrestling?
No.
We'll see.
You have Piper get it and give it to Eva Marie.
So this is, and I said this a couple of places this week, but this is the problem with this whole deal, is they're making Piper Nevins Otis. They're making her Otis. They come in here, they take a legit worker and make her oafish. They give her this weird hairstyle, make her goofy, hugging on Eva Marie and all this. They were gonna make her what were they gonna make her name? Oopa Loop, something weird. Either way,
Doobie or something.
Yeah, like
Something
doo-doo drop. Doo-doo drop, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
do drop. Yeah, why do you get this young lady? This is a legit worker, and you bring her in here, and you are going to turn her into Otis. And if you give her the money in the bank, you have completed the cycle.
But the thing is, you're right about that. And that's the one thing I will say. I'm a little angry about that, especially the IWC and the way they reacted towards her. And I'm gonna say this right now. The people that were disrespecting her about how she looked, I've seen how you look in real life. Y'all should not be talking. That's number one.
I want to quote Deadass Girls podcast who tweeted, like, mostly y'all talking about Piper Evans' body and y'all built for tough.
Horrible.
I'm like, that's
their mama, their auntie, their daddy, all of them built horrible. But they have no
I'm
right
sorry,
to talk about
we
people.
can't all look like Sir Wilkins in life. I mean,
I don't talk about nobody.
You know what?
I don't
I'm
talk about
just
nobody's body.
So, but the only problem with that is they booked her. When you book a bad guy, right? When you book a bad guy and you book a bad guy to come in and squash one of your favorites, the internet is supposed to boo the bad guy. And part of booing the bad guy is talking bad about him. Look at his foot. He coming here slew-footed, not me. Like, this is what wrestling fans normally do, is come in and look at whatever they favor or the person that they hate and say, well, look at your insert whatever, something people have to talk about, and that's what they're going to talk about. So she comes in here, you book her, they booked her goofy, like they booked her oafish, and the responses you got from the IWC talking about her physically, like a great deal of it is on WWE. That's how they booked her.
I can see that. So I just want to switch gears a little bit, and just one, we have another guest that'll be joining us. So Jewel has been, it really is, it's always a party. She's been actually a fan and a part of the Those Wrestling Girls family for years. I think she won one of our first giveaways, but she's also a Twitch queen, Black woman thriving in the Twitch game. Her name is Jewel. Hey, Jewel.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
It's nice to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. I'll have you do your plugs in just a second, but I just want to kind of go through the Black Wrestling 50 list a little bit and just throw some names out there that I was happy to see on it. Queen Aminata, she is killing it right now. I see her doing big things. Like, that's a future star. Lee
should have been higher on the list, in my opinion.
What was her record of the year?
I'm just saying. Keith Lee was a little too high, though, by the way.
Are we giving her criticism right now?
Keith Lee was number 20. Keith Lee was number 20.
May. You got to remember what he did at the beginning.
He didn't do anything.
At the Panamania? At the beginning of the Panamania? Keith was getting busy. Then they unbooked him.
JTG, Savannah Evans was on there. Kaden Carter was number 41. That kind of shocked me. I didn't felt like she did a lot.
Kaden and her and Casey tag team division in the beginning. Yes, sis. Go back and rewatch them. Yes, she was really doing her own thing. She was killing it out here when this panoramic was happening. So
I like the names for this. I like the names.
Yeah, I put that on TikTok. So I had to steal it.
The panini,
the panoramic,
the Passover.
Yeah. Okay, if you say so. Ember Moon was number 38.
Wait, who came back first, Naomi or Ember?
I don't remember who got
You
came back
always gotta
first.
make this about Naomi, girl. Let it go.
I don't know, but Ember was running on top. Ember is challenging for the title.
I feel like Ember's number should have been a little bit higher, though.
I agree.
But like, in order to get certain people higher, certain people need to get lower.
Yep.
Oh, she's gonna get spicy.
So, what was your criteria?
Yeah.
I know the time frame, but what was the criteria?
So I mean, a great deal. You talk title runs, win loss record, positioning, TV time. As
And
much as
clout.
possible.
Y'all put clout on
Well,
there because some people are higher
nah.
on lists because they got followers and
For instance,
Sis is going
for
in.
instance,
Okay, all right.
like who I don't, I'm not quite sure who got on for clout.
okay.
All
I'm
right.
just saying, if you only beat jobbers but you got followers, like I don't know what that means. I didn't
It
make the
means win.
list.
Hey, dubs are important. Dubs are important.
Yeah, I mean, if you only beat jobbers and you had not one memorable match, I mean that's interesting. But you
No,
know,
who
I'm
we
not
talking
in the
about?
business. I'm not in the business of
I'm
saying
just saying.
who should be lower. Like I'm not gonna disrespect
Yeah,
black
just-
wrestlers, but I would like to see like Trisha Dora should have been higher to me. I think Red Velvet should have been higher to me. You know,
That was pretty
Will
high.
Hobbs.
Red Velvet was like 18 or 13.
Red Velvet was high, but there was a few that were above her, and I was just like,
Right. So Trisha
So-
Dora was number 36.
and should have been 36.
Should have been definitely
Especially on the live when y'all was talking about how influential like intergender matches are. Like I'm like, yo, that shorty's
The problem is that is correct. The problem is the Porsche Panamera shut down a lot of independent pro wrestling this year. So a great deal of wrestling occurred on television, and we had to take that into effect.
Yeah.
So, question for you, big dogs. Why is Jade so high?
Who?
So Jade's very high. Jade's
and
really high. Because of positioning.
No shade.
Clout,
I'm
bikini
I'm
pants.
curious.
Oh nah. She jumped so high because of positioning on that television. She came in next to Shaq. She came in and she was on TV. And then when she got in the ring, we thought we were gonna get Instagram model turned pro wrestler type matches, and we got wrestling matches. So she wrestled on TV and looked good. And shout out to Red Velvet who helped a lot of that. But yeah, it was she that TV time and positioning in feuds and whatnot. That's important.
I gotta agree. I think Jay was way too high. I do. In her credit, she has built enough hype around her to where we are putting her in the top 20, and she only started wrestling in the last like 6 months or whatever the case. So she was 16. Red Velvet was 18. So just for people that don't know,
them and we good.
Right?
No, and I see that. One of my favorites, low key, is Myron Reed. I think he should have cracked the top 20. I would have flipped him with Keith, because you have Keith at 20 and then you have Myron at 22, and Myron's run the second half of your timeline was better than Keith's.
He definitely was 100%.
So
Keith was
I get it
non-existent.
because Keith is on NXT and WWE TV, so I can see why you kind of put him up a little bit higher. But Myron's run has been crazy, and that's my little beef with you. I ain't gonna hold you go to big dogs. That was my little beef. I was like, yo, why isn't Myron higher than Keith? But you know what? I get it. I respect it. You guys put a lot of work into this.
That TV money.
For me,
that TV money is good money.
Yeah, in all honesty, for like 2 to 3 spots, I can't even disagree with you. Hey, you know, and that's kind of how these lists work.
Right.
Is nothing's hard, concrete. But at the same time, you know what I mean. If you have that opinion, I can't really argue with you at all.
Yeah,
but
and no one's going to be completely happy with this, because wrestling is subjective to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, no, wins and losses, even that's a decision that someone else is making, who wins or loses. So it's like, it's impossible.
This just means we need to get Trisha Dora on TV so she can get them TV points.
Right. Shout out to her getting in that tournament.
The one thing I will say, though, is thank you, because you created something for us, and you put a lot of effort and time into this. You guys legit put the list together. Graphics are pretty. Like, you promoted it. You did your job. Everything was on point. But it was also when people complain, oh my God, it's not, blah, 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 blah. But you're like, oh, you know what? We'll do our own. And kudos to y'all for doing that. Like,
yeah, for real.
Absolutely amazing.
So
Shout out to y'all for that.
So I want to hear from Eva and Jewel, who we haven't really heard from, just on the top 10. So we had Apollo Crews at 10, Kofi Kingston at 9, Rich Swann at 8, MVP at 7, should have been fucking higher. Number 6, Montez Ford. Number 5, Chris Bay, love him. 4, Big E, love him. 3, Bianca Belair. 2, Bobby Lashley. And number 1, Sasha fucking Banks.
Oh.
How do y'all feel about that top 10, ladies?
I think the top 10 is absolutely what I think the top 10 should be. These wrestlers really came and showed out during the parallelogram. If it wasn't for these wrestlers, we wouldn't have had any entertainment. And Sasha being number 1, absolutely. Like, she has been working hard, not just in wrestling, but in her acting career. She's really doing the thing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And she crossed over. Yeah. Eva, how do you feel about that top 10?
It made me really happy to see Apollo at that level. For so many years, you look at this guy and think he deserves more. They should use him more. And for him to finally have it, it felt really good to see that. And it felt good to have Sasha be number 1, because Sasha and Bayley both kept us going during this panorama. Like, they had us entertained. They did the work. Finally, Sasha has had time off after so many days of being on all 3 shows, Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. That woman worked. She put in the time. And so it felt really good to see that list.
Yeah. I had no only issue I did have with that top 10. I just think MVP showed the fuck out in this last year or so. I couldn't have more respect for what MVP did in the last year. He took people out, like Shelton Benjamin, out of catering and made and basically put more star power on him than ever before. If you listen to those wrestling girls, I'm still salty about them bringing up the Hurt Business. That's why I pulled up this pic, because if we're talking Black excellence, we cannot not mention the Hurt Business and how they fucking carried Raw for months. Let's see where the rest of the Hurt Business ranks. So MVP was 7. Bobby Lashley was 2. Let's see. How did they all else rank? Shelton Benjamin 32. I mean, he probably wouldn't have been on this list without the Hurt Business. To be honest,
specifically without MVP.
Right. Exactly. Are y'all feeling his promos with the New Day? Because I'm living for them.
It's gotta happen soon, I hope.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be I feel like because he's egging Kofi on to do so, it's not gonna be Kofi, it's gonna be Xavier Woods. That's what I feel.
Did you guys hear at the end of that promo this week? The end of the promo this week, after they're kind of cutting away, Xavier Woods says, "Oh, he's not wrong."
It's gonna be Xavier Woods who's gonna make that switch, and not Kofi.
OMG.
I mean,
like
the New Day has been the New Day has been together. They're like the longest group we've seen, the longest faction we've seen, and this is what 4, 5, 6 years maybe now. So if they were to break up, I'm okay with it.
I'm not.
I'm okay with it.
I'm not. I will never be okay with that.
Just like John Cena doesn't ever have to be a heel, the New Day doesn't ever have to break up. It can be a brotherhood forever and ever and ever, and we can see all of them have a great singles run, but they don't have to break up to do it.
Right. And their brand outside of the wrestling ring is so strong. Like, their podcast is super successful. I don't think it would do them any favors with legit breaking them up. I just don't see how that would help them in any way. And like you said, Britt, they can have solo careers without breaking up officially,
The New Day is staying together.
Is it the breaking up officially, or is it the way that it's looking like they're gonna break up? Which one is it? Because they can break up, go about their business, and still come back. We saw it with the Shield. They except for when Seth Rollins turned, but all them other times we saw it with the Shield. They went their separate ways, and they came back when one of them was down and out. So is it the way that we think they're going to break up or breaking them up, period, that we don't want?
I don't want them to break up, period.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. It's breaking them up. Period. It's completely separate. The Shield. Because I think with the Shield, they were so separate, and I still think of them as so separate that with the New Day, I think of them as the New Day. Like they're all amazing by their own right, and like as much as I would love to see Xavier Woods get a title too,
And that's probably the problem because we don't really see them individually anymore. Like at least with the Shield,
I do.
Patricia, shut up.
I do. Big E's doing his thing. Kofi had Kofi Mania. Xavier Woods is doing his thing in gaming. So I think they're
Gaming. What?
But exactly, you said gaming. We don't see Xavier. We don't know who Xavier Woods is in the ring by himself as an individual. You just said gaming. We don't know who he is, and that's the problem. Eva just says she sees them as the New Day, but when it came down to the Shield, Dean Ambrose, we knew he was crazy, batshit crazy. We knew that. We knew Roman Reigns was the muscle who didn't know how to speak on the mic, but now he talks on the mic and it's like flawless. And we knew Seth Rollins was always that architect. We knew that he always had that leadership role. We don't know what the New Day has because they've been together for so long. Even when they split Big E and Kofi and Xavier Woods, when they came back together, it was just like, oh my gosh, the New Day is back. Not, oh my gosh, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods are together. You understand? So we need to kind of see who they are individually.
Krista, but I don't trust Vince to do it correctly.
Yeah, of course.
I don't trust him at all to do it right.
Well, I think why people are so scared is because when you compare it to the Shield, you said a little bit about, so I'm going to piggyback on it a little bit. The Shield were all top guys.
True.
They were legit. We all knew them coming in. They were all going to be top guys going in. And then they all had like lustrous, independent history, except for Roman, obviously. But they were all huge on the independency. So the Shield is a lot different, and everybody you mentioned they are a lot different. New Day were, for the most part, Kofi fell down to the lower mid card. Big E wasn't really doing anything.
He was playing bodyguard for Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee.
Yeah, he won the IC title one time, but that didn't really hit the way it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. And Xavier was just floating around
with the curly hair and the sparkly jacket.
He was smiling Negro number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
But that's how. But when they got together, they were so powerful together. They were such a massive, strong unit. So I think that's why everybody's like, yo, what are they gonna do when they break up? Because the reason why Kofi had Kofi Mania was low-key by accident. Let's just keep it a buck.
True. Yeah, 100%.
True.
So it happened, but then why was it so good? Because Big E's cutting a promo offline talking about low-key saying that blacks have a hard time moving up on the rankings. You have Xavier crying every 5 seconds. He loves to cry, but he's adding that layer. Them as together, they add a layer to everything that they do. So when we see them breaking up, we're like, I don't know if it's gonna work because
we're supposed to be in a unit instead of individually.
Yeah, because when the Shield is like individually, we all knew they were good. Roman had the superstar look. Moxley was Moxley's assistant indies. Tyler Black,
he's talking WWE. You gonna call him Ambrose, okay?
We're not gonna call him by his old name now.
I mean, in the Shield, he was Ambrose.
Juneteenth.
We can call that man John Moxley.
But I understand what Eva's saying, what everybody else is saying was like, yo, is this really about, if they break up, are they gonna be okay? And I think more people are worried about Xavier. So if Xavier does turn, he has to join Hurt Business.
He has to.
To give him that boot. But Britt, I want to hear your opinion because you just rolled your eyes and go, So
because I don't think they have to have a turn to break up or to have each other shine and be in a different position. It could be moving to another brand or even like how we see the Usos. We always see them as the Usos. They're the twins. They're whatever. But who knew what Jay had until recently? But that doesn't mean him and his brother are beefing. They didn't have to beef to have a difference or to, they didn't have to have this huge turn where it's just like, I hate you. Like, I don't think that has to happen with the New Day. You just have to have a space for them to shine. And I think if Kofi is involved with a whole nother feud or maybe something like that, that'll give Xavier some space to do what he needs to do. I don't want to see them go at each other. That's not my thing.
See, the thing I think that WWE is really scared of with those guys is they aren't really that good at making black dudes not be stereotypes, either smiley guy or angry guy. That's the only two speeds they know. Then, because of the New Day, they found out that they can build characters, and individually they can work, and that's what happened with Kofi Mania. That's slowly what's hopefully happened with Big E, even though his push is kind of slowing. But that's hopefully what will happen with Xavier Woods. They gave him some shine with some matches recently, and he got busy.
Boy can work.
Yeah, he been getting busy. Let's keep it a buck. So, I mean, a heel Xavier Woods that's in ring working could be dope.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it sucks because nobody wants, especially because the New Day was like the only black faction that we had in a long time since, Nation of Domination. You understand? Like, between Nation of Domination and the New Day, it's like we really didn't have these solidified black factions. So yes, it's gonna suck to see that they have to break up and go separate ways. But it's time for Xavier to shine. The only thing Xavier got going for him is that he's been a tag team champion. I don't think he's ever been he held a singles championship.
No.
Kofi has, Big E has twice, Kofi has countless of times. You understand? So now it's just for Xavier Woods. Now, I wouldn't mind it, the him turning heel, him going to the Hurt Business, because clearly that's where the elevation is, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I get you guys' points. Like, no, we don't want them to break up. Like, sometimes you got to break out that comfort zone, because that heel turn may be something we never knew we needed.
That's true.
I hate black on black crime.
I do too. That's why I can't watch Raw when Shelton and Cedric were going against each other. Like, I couldn't watch. I was like, no. This is
Big E and Apollo hurt too. I was like, what am I doing? What's going on?
I'd rather watch Shelton Benjamin beat Cedric than Jeff Hardy.
Right. That's another topic. But I do want to switch gears because I brought Britt on for a specific topic. This is way not even in the same realm of what we're talking about now. But I want to talk about that Chyna documentary. It's super heavy. Because I know Britt, you wanted to definitely talk about that. It's hard to even know where to begin when it comes to this.
Everybody failed her.
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Who was around her failed her. She cut off her family. She literally had no support. And we knew what happened or what supposedly happened with the Triple H, Stephanie, and Chyna thing. And now to see it on TV, plain as day, on how they violated her. Mm-hmm. She was the best. I feel like if they didn't do her dirty, Chyna, we already know she rings bells. She's one of the greatest of all time. There's no taking what she did for this company away from her. Had they did not do her dirty, had they packaged her properly, we would have seen a Chyna versus Jazz at Mania. We would have seen a Chyna versus Molly Holly. So you understand? They put Chyna against Lita, they put her against Ivory, and then with Eddie Guerrero, and then that was it. It was just all right, we don't need you more. You send somebody a fax at a restaurant. How did you know she was at that restaurant? It's a lot.
Yeah, it was heavy. So it's one thing that is coming to mind because we're talking about intergender wrestling. So one thing about Chyna's time in WWE was that she didn't want to go back to wrestling women. Yeah. She felt what's the point? It's basically bringing my character back. What made me special was that I could compete with the guys. What are your thoughts on her not wanting to go back to the women's division and that kind of being sort of, you know, with management. Now she's difficult to work with. Her wanting just as much money as the other male top stars were getting. Now she's labeled as difficult. Now she has an ego, and now we're gonna kind of, you know, basically throw her to the wayside. Like, how do you guys feel? How do you, like, especially now, because now we're not just fans of Chyna, we're all commentators on wrestling to some extent. We all have an opinion on intergender wrestling. What are your thoughts on her feeling like she was better than wrestling the women?
Should I go first, or because I'm a dude?
Sure. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of things, which I'm gonna try to touch on and not be long-winded about it. First things first, that's how all companies are. When you start knowing what your value is, they start calling you difficult. Am I correct? Most of us have, especially as a woman, especially being the first of your kind, so they don't know your value, but then they don't really understand it 100%. So that I knew. I'm not surprised about that. JR talked about it on his podcast, and I remember him talking about it, and he was like, well, we offered her a lot of money, but she didn't want to take it. Now, I've managed a very large part of my life. If you wanted her to go back to wrestling women, you have to have that legit, real conversation with her. Have a conversation. This is I don't know if that conversation was happening, but like, hey, listen, you are a megastar. We want to elevate this women's division. And that's what she would have done. And I don't think they respected her enough to see her value. And that's why she probably didn't want to go back, because it's like, you're going to put me back and have like these 2-minute matches. Right. And if you're talking about realism, and this is at the time, I'm taking down these bigger dudes. You want me to go back to this? How are we making this work? And they probably didn't have a plan put together to make it work. So I understand where she's coming from. Like, oh, y'all don't got nothing for me, because JR even said it. They really didn't have nothing for her at the time. And that goes back to WWE creative. I
feel like they could have used Chyna to push the Divas in a different direction. Yes. Chyna was wrestling men, and there were so many missed opportunities for Chyna to have amazing matches with the women. We never really got to see what Chyna was fully capable of, and I think that's absolutely devastating.
I agree.
For sure. There was a compromise that could have been had, but I don't think either side was willing to do that. And that's where they messed up the entire game, because we went on for years, if not a decade or more than that, with like, you know, lackluster women's wrestling. She could have had a whole stable. She could have been breeding pit bulls of women's wrestling, and just her presence could have been a lot. Even if she wanted to go back to a more like, not a bodyguard, but a managerial role, she could have just done so much. But I think they were looking for a reason to get her out of there. And when it comes to her full story, we have to remember, we all let her down. It's not just WWE as an establishment that let her down. It's not just, you know, the fellow wrestlers, but also the fans. And it taught me so much about how we look at people today. You know, we talk about the releases, but then we stop talking about those wrestlers until they're back in wrestling. And
thank you.
You know,
or something bad happens.
Yeah. Or they like slight wrestlers for twitching or for making an OnlyFans, for doing all this. But I'm like, imagine if Chyna had other ways to create money. She wouldn't have had to do that adult entertainment stuff. And at this point, like, if we make enough noise, we've been making noise for years. If Justin Timberlake can come back and apologize to Britney and Janet, then Triple H can damn sure get on here and apologize and say, we messed up. You know, you got alleged murderers in that Hall of Fame. So you can't tell me, like, her couldn't provide for herself, y'all wouldn't allow her to provide for herself, is what's going to hold her back from doing that.
But I feel like now the apology, they should have did it in 2015 when she went into WWE headquarters, when she wanted to be seen, when she tried to talk and hash things up, but they were too busy. I feel like the apology now would just be something to shut us up because we're making the noise. Right. It won't come from a genuine place. It would never
be
performative.
Yeah, I agree. And to be honest with you, I think them inducting her with DX was WWE's version of an apology.
As an apology.
Not that it was right. I think that was in their way of being like, we acknowledged her, but she should definitely have her own solo induction, 100%.
But they move in a way because WWE knows that they can't be canceled. It's just really
right. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck.
They don't care. Like,
They could give two shits.
We
Triple
can
H
cancel
said-
everything except the world wrestling.
Like that interview in 2015, like I watched that Austin Triple H interview, and even when Triple H said it then, like, "Oh, I have an 8-year-old kid, and they don't know who Chyna is," and then you Google Chyna, what's the first thing that comes up?
That ain't the first thing that comes
That's
up.
not the first thing
That's
comes
definitely
up.
not the first thing that come up.
No.
But my thing is, your
Hold on,
boy
hold on,
X-Pac
hold
was
on.
a whole crystal meth addict with no teeth. So
No, wait.
Make
I'ma
that
throw
make
some-
sense.
He had bought
Make
some
that
that
make-
he put in
Make
later
that make
on.
sense.
I'm gonna throw something else at that. X-Pac got a porno too, so I don't know what they're talking
Porno
about.
with Chyna.
So,
Right.
They're in the same boat. I don't know what they're talking about, but it goes back to something I always talk about on my podcast. Wrestling is about two things: nepotism and putting my homies on.
Mm-hmm.
And X-Pac got homies in high places.
He ain't going nowhere.
But do you
That's
think
not-
if
that's
it
that's
wasn't
double
Triple
entendre.
H, like if Stephanie was the head of this whole Justice for China thing, maybe that would make a bigger impact from a woman's perspective?
I don't think it would
Because
because
a lot of
But
people
would it
say
be-
it's her fault.
she lied too much. She lied. She got
Yeah.
people to lie. She lied.
Wait,
Who lied?
Eva,
Who lied
I
too
saw
much?
that.
I think with
Stephanie. Go ahead.
I think the issue with Stephanie is she's involved with it. She helped hide Chyna away.
Yeah.
Like, let's not. We can't hide away from that. Like, Stephanie actively did this.
Yeah, she lied
Yes.
too much.
She's
Her
the
apology
worst.
wouldn't get at Royal Rumble, the first Women's Royal Rumble, when she mentioned Chyna. Everybody was like, "Whoa!" She said her name, and then we in Hall of Fame, and everybody's like, "Thank you, Chyna." Whoa, Stephanie is saying thank you, Chyna too. Like maybe but at the end of the day, it's all for cameras. It's all for glitz and glam. You understand? I honestly feel as if Stephanie definitely had a part. Oh, Daddy, can you do something? Because me and Triple H are trying to be serious now, but his girlfriend Chyna's in the way, and we need to do something to get rid of her. And that's exactly what they did. They did something to get rid of her, and now she's gone for good.
When Chyna said that she found that letter from a year prior written by Stephanie and Triple H's stuff, that hurt my heart. Like, they had a house together. Like, they built a life together.
You lied. You
I
lied.
feel like any apology from Stephanie wouldn't be genuine, but we're not in Stephanie's head. We're not in their relationship. We don't know. Maybe Stephanie does have some regrets and some,
She
you
better.
know, some pain about this, but I feel like we as the public,
She don't.
I feel like any type of apology, any type of action forward at this point looks performative. This should have been done
Then what do we
years
want?
ago.
What do we want out of this? Do we care if she gets
That's
in
the
by
hard
herself?
part.
What do we want? Do we want
Oh,
a
she's
China
dangerous.
Memorial Battle Royale? What do we want from
Is
this? What can we do?
that-
We've already failed
I
it.
think that's the great question. I think that's the great question, and I think acknowledgement of the failure is the best they can do, and they will never do that.
We would
Now-
never mention her. Okay, so when I was doing my thesis, I remember, and I tell Peter's story every time. I was in Starbucks, and the former director of security walked into Starbucks, and me and him had to sit down a few days later talking about the women in WWE. When it came down to Chyna, verbatim, his words were, "Joni was the sweetest person you would ever meet. Non-problematic. She was always with the guys. She was amazing. WWE will never mention her or induct her into anything because of the sex tape that she had when she's in all green and she had penises in every hole in her body. And WWE despised that." And I'm just like, wow. So because she made a sex tape, because the company erased her, gave her no benefits, no nothing, and she had to make a living, they're going to shade her that way. But if it was a dude who
That would be praised.
But mind you, like I don't know who mentioned it, but almost everyone in that Hall of Fame to some extent has a sketchy background. Like it's hard to have been in the wrestling business for all these years and not have had a drug problem, not have been fucking convicted of murder. You know what I mean? Like it's so for them to hold Chyna and I go and because of our platform, because she's a woman, X-Pac was in that sex tape with her. You know what I mean? So it's like why is
And people
Chyna being
forget
held to this morality? To be in the Hall of Fame when most people in the wrestling business are fucking sketchy. But I want to go back, right? I want to go back to the actual documentary, and y'all touched on them visiting WWE. performative. You know, I think the people that were around her at that time that were making this documentary, like we saw that they all had their own drug problems. You know, they were doing this for basically their own gain. They guised it as them wanting to help Chyna, calling it. And it's also important to note that Jake the Snake had a documentary called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake that was very successful with his journey. So I think they were sort of trying to emulate that. But none of them... Right. But none of them were equipped to be that. One of y'all started dating, two of y'all started dating her. This quote unquote manager is literally feeding her drugs, telling her to lie to her addiction specialist. Literally like, okay, well, you'll do this drug and this drug, but don't tell Dr. Drew about this drug. So it's like no one around you. Then you got, and then for me, a lot of the things that y'all had Chyna doing, y'all were not equipped to handle that, her mental health. Y'all had her visiting her father's grave. Y'all had her going into WWE, plain clothes, ambush style. Like, y'all think y'all really was about to go see Vince McMahon like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and I think that was more heartbreaking to me about the doc, because we all know Chyna's story is tragic. Like, we all knew that. But to see who was around her for that last few months of her life, it to me was one of the most heartbreaking.
I think for me, the part that really got me was just how nonchalant the director was. Especially at that very end when he was like, oh, yeah, you're the guy who killed Chyna. I didn't kill Chyna. Oh, yeah, I killed her. Like, this woman... You was literally sitting here doing heroin and whatever, and y'all talking about the type of pills and stuff that y'all had. And only one person was just like, we need to get her help, and nobody listened to him. Nobody.
She was literally saying, I need help. And, you know, they just kept filming. They're like, well, this is going to be good B-roll for the documentary. Watching her decline so rapidly over the course of the documentary was absolutely devastating. If I could see how it's happening, how could no one around her see this?
They saw. I think they just saw. Oh, this is going to bring us some money. She's Chyna. People know her. Even Mick Foley had to come in and say, I don't think that she was ready to do any of that, and they just forced her on camera.
She wasn't.
They exploited her up until the last second of her life. Imagine that. That is crazy. But like, you see all the wrestlers coming out and supporting her. I'm like, I'm not saying it's on them. When someone's going through something, someone's going through something.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who are still active, you know, wanted to stay away from her for their own, you know, bread and butter. Like, you know, I can't get involved with Chyna, try to save her, and I got beef with my boss. But like, it takes a village. And I think now looking back, you see wrestlers, because they can connect in other ways, whether it be social media, whether it be traveling, whether it be whatever, you know, you can't just let people leave the community. Like, if one of y'all stop making wrestling content, that don't mean I'm gonna stop following you. That don't mean I'm gonna stop checking on you. Like, that's a part of it. And that's what hurts the most. Because I'm like, Mick, you could have saved her too. And Mick's my homie, you know, I love soccer.
Yeah, no, and I totally get it. And like, and that's what hurt my heart too, was like and Wilkins touched on what wrestling's about, nepotism and your homies. Chyna was already had issues and was alone. She joins wrestling and she gets a brotherhood. She gets a family. She gets a community. She gets fans. She gets a life. She has a purpose now. People care about you. You walk into a room and people light up. You're a star. All of a sudden, one day, you're cut from that. You're alone, completely alone. And that breaks my heart that Chyna never knew how loved she was once the wrestling industry threw her away. And in that Vince Russo interview, he's telling her, you're not a failure. You are a success story. She does not even believe him. You can see it in her eyes. She doesn't believe him because she truly never felt like, because of how they threw her away, and it's also tied into heartbreak. Girls, y'all have been, guys too, y'all been heartbroken before. So it's not even, it was so much more of that. Like, not only did you leave the wrestling business, you lost the love of your life. You got cheated on. You had to show up to work and witness this. The boss's daughter, you know, it's so many fucking layers.
And the thing about that, she was even willing to work around the whole, okay, let's put me here. Like, she never even went saying, I don't like this. What is going on? Like, she did what she was supposed to do. She approached her man and was like, what is going on? Triple H
just wanted honesty.
Right. Triple H is a snake. He knew that he was supposed to, he knew once he got his hand in Vince's pocket, that's exactly where it was gonna stay. And I really feel like he doesn't care. Like, it's good, like I said, for glitz and glam for the camera. Yeah, he was in the beginning of the documentary saying his little two piece. Where was he at for the rest of it? Where was he at to dispel like the stuff that was going on? Nowhere.
Oh, no, because he was dead wrong.
What?
Because he was dead wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Like, what can you say?
the one thing, so you realize that every single family that she had was toxic. Like everything that she ever attached to was toxic. Her crazy father, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to that nigga. Even her moms who wouldn't, you know what I mean? You ain't seen her in 30 years, and because she sent you a filthy email, that was the reason you would come on, sweetheart. Don't nobody buy that. So her family life, that was toxic. Her wrestling life, I mean, wrestling in general is toxic. You don't see a lot of pro wrestlers end up happy. There aren't a lot of you know what I mean, happily ever after stories in pro wrestling in general. So while this is extremely heartbreaking because you got to see the steps of it, it's not all that surprising because it's another wrestling story. I mean, Vice has been getting bread with wrestling pain for 2 years now, and we love it.
That's true.
I think a major thing with Chyna is I feel like people see her physical strength and forgot that she's vulnerable too. She has needs and wants and desires outside of wrestling, you know, the basic hierarchy of needs that weren't getting met. People see her physical strength and just forget her vulnerabilities. And I feel like that's a lot of reason why it was so difficult for her to find help, because people only saw her physical strength. They didn't see, you know, her mental illness. They didn't see her struggling because, oh, she's strong, she can't struggle.
And that's wrestling. That's that masculinity. Like, you can't be weak, you can't be heartbroken, you can't do any of these things. And we've seen it so many stories on Dark Side of the Ring where people have literally suffered trying to be that tough. Like the Dynamite Kid doc is one of my favorite episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, because, you know, his story is tragic simply because he was a small man trying to not be in the wrestling industry. So, you know, it's like really fucked up. But that also reminds me of something that was said that fucking grinded my gears. She was on Larry King, and he's talking about, of course, her body, her looks, her masculine looks, and he said something like, you know, what's your image in wrestling? She said, I'm feminine and strong. Oh no, I represent femininity and strength. And he said, strength is a male word. And that shit almost drove me insane. Like, how do you say that to someone? Like, women give birth. Like, how do you tell me that strength is a male word and now she shouldn't categorize as that? Like,
well, that statement was a product of that time.
Right.
At the same time, he was doing interviews with pop stars, asking them about their bodies and asking them what their body count was, and publicly saying, "Are you a virgin?" in national interviews. The journalism world has come a long way too, but like that also was another thing that failed Chyna and failed a lot of people in that era. And you know, it's a shame because I think all of the women who grew up in that era, including a lot of us, like, it does chip away at you, but things are changing, and it's a shame that it has to change on the backs of other people.
Right.
Because, you know, no one can get away with that question in 2021.
Right.
To piggyback on the body thing. So my shoot job is I'm a trainer. So I've trained a lot of females who competed, either in bodybuilding or powerlifting. And you spoke about how things have changed. Things really haven't, because you'll see it on TV a little bit where like people don't move away from like saying those types of things, which you are right about that. But the stigma is still there of seeing women with muscles. And
I don't know, not the way y'all thirst over Jade.
No, the stigma's there.
No, the stigma's there, and you can even see it with Peyton Royce when she was doing her bodybuilding competition.
Jade.
I'm saying I love Jade. She's the I said it on my show.
The Walmart Bianca.
And I think there's a lot of women who would rather look like Jade and Bianca than even
You'll be surprised, but you'll be surprised where, yeah, you see that, but more don't. Because I'm telling you, I'm in the field. Hey, I do want to lift. I do want to get stronger, but I don't want to get. I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to have
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah,
I don't want.
I'm in the
I don't want
journalism
that.
field to it, and I don't think people are normalizing asking you about your body anymore. It's just
No,
not allowed.
definitely not. Definitely not. But the thing what Chyna did is that she helped usher that. Like, it's okay to have muscles. It's okay to be a female with that. And a lot, and she helped that. She helped out a lot, because if you see like NXT Charlotte to NXT now, I mean Charlotte now, it's a completely different person, body wise.
Yeah,
And
Face
Chyna
wise.
was.
Yeah, she got some installs. She got a couple installs.
Yeah, install, but also she's not as small, like forced to be so small. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there has been
she's
a change.
also a couple years older. You know, in women's body,
Yeah.
certain things we can't keep up. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you know, Chyna has helped out a lot with that. But there's still that constant struggle where it's like, yo, it's okay to be a woman with muscles. I've seen it all the time. Like, I deal with it where it's like, yo, it's okay to be it's okay to be jacked. You'll be all right. Just lift this.
Well,
weight
and I
up.
think
We're talking about a championship.
what you're saying, Sir Wilkins, we wouldn't have a Beth Phoenix without Chyna.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have a Rhea Ripley now without Chyna. And I think that is, I hope, and Britt mentioned it, like, what is the goal though? Like, what can we do for Chyna? We can't, sadly, we can't bring her back. We would love to have her, like, I would love to see her in WWE's Hall of Fame, but I don't want Triple H or Stephanie anywhere near that video package. I want her to be introduced by the fans and by the wrestlers that she's inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be, yeah.
Book
I have
it.
read it too.
Yes.
Right. So, Brett, I know your time is limited. We do have a question, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Give me 1 second. Has it popped up? But how do you feel about Chyna's work in New Japan Pro Wrestling and being the only woman to do intergender wrestling there?
I mean, I think she was incredibly brave to even go into that, and seeing the story behind it was one of my favorite parts of the documentary. I went into this not knowing whether it was going to be a celebration of her career or the tragic downfall of her life. But I think that is something that you can't touch. You can't touch that. She's going to have that for the rest of her life. And it showed something about, it put a little bit more legitimacy as to what we're doing in America. I think everyone says like pro wrestling is real in Japan and in America, y'all, whatever. But I think that made a bigger impact than we even know until later on down the road.
Yeah, I agree.
And Japan was like her safe space.
Yeah, it really was.
I
know.
You probably just weird Mormons out there too, though. Like, all them weird. I think she was attracted to those like toxic relationships.
She had vulnerable written on her forehead.
What toxic was for her. What toxic is for us was for her. And being that she really experienced it as you know, we have, or you know, she just thought because somebody just said, like when X-Pac came, automatically, oh my God, we've been friends for so long. Now we're in a relationship. Now we're doing drugs together. Now I'm over here, this, that, and third. X-Pac chewed your ass out on Celebrity Rehab. Cursed her out. Yelled at her. Made her dribble up until like on the inside like a little baby. But then that's the person that you love. You understand? So she really didn't know what love was. I felt like when she was with the other guy who was really wanting to check in and whatever, that was healthy for her. Right. He was really the only concerning person in her life.
And what's sad too is thinking about how much she wanted to be loved. Imagine being loved to the height of that Attitude Era vibe that she had, and then losing that. Like you know, like all those fans and everything, all that, you know, going out doing house shows and getting that love every night from fans, and then that's it. It just stops. And then that's why I love when Britt said earlier, like we all let her down because we were, you know. I watched on Surreal Life and I watched on Celebrity Rehab, you know, as a Chyna fan, but I wasn't on some like, you know, someone go help her. I was just like, oh shit, she a hot ass mess now. You know what I mean? Like I'm being, you know, honest because of, you know, that was the era that we were in. So, you know, it's just really, you know, unfortunate. But before we go on to another topic, do y'all have any lasting thoughts on the Chyna doc, her career, her tragic life?
A point that she made in the China doc, she said that she made more money doing Playboy than she made in 5 years working for WWE. And that is absolutely insane to me.
That's fucking insane.
That just shows how undervalued and underappreciated she was while she was there. The fact that she had to seek outside work to, even make a fraction. It really made me so angry.
What that Playboy check looking like? Let me find out.
It's actually one of I found a copy of the black leather Playboy she had. It's a real nice copy. It's classy.
You know what? If her team was, if she was okay today, like her selling that Playboy, like the NFT for that shit, would make so much money. Just a random thing. My last words before I know we have to switch over. Her manager was horrible.
Yeah.
I've heard so many nightmares about him.
Whatever spiritual advisor, that's what he called
Enabler.
himself too. Enabler, whatever you want to say it, was the absolute worst, and he was all about himself. Because if he had gotten her the right way, she would have been so much huge, especially in the social media world that you mentioned before, Queen PR, earlier. She have done so much. And I also want to talk about her childhood as well. Even since her childhood, she was looking to be accepted, looking to be loved, and find a place where she could fit in. Because she talked about a little bit of that, and wrestling was a place she fit in. And then, like you said, it was stripped away from her, and she didn't know where to go. But that was like my last little piece on that. Yeah, still love her though. I had a crush on her when she was dating Eddie. But that's
we all had a crush on Queen Chyna. I have to go, you guys. I love you all.
Yes. Thank you, Britt, so much. Happy Juneteenth. Have a good weekend.
Juneteenth. And everything that y'all do, keep doing it. I gotta go host the game.
All right.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Peace.
So next, just because it's also Juneteenth, and this happened in the last, recently, was 2 wrestlers announced that they were leaving the business. That was extremely heartbreaking for me. One was Leo Rush due to an injury. I randomly met him last week in Baltimore. It was so random. I was at a live show, and I was looking for the bathroom, and someone was like, "Oh, it's through that door." And I opened the door thinking it's the bathroom, and fucking Leo Rush is sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
In the bathroom?
No, I thought it was the bathroom. It was like leading into the hallway into the bathroom, but imagine just thinking you're walking into the bathroom, and then fucking Leo Rush is sitting there, and he was super nice, and it was just so nice to meet you. But he was like my friend, and he didn't want to make it a thing, but he was really cool. And ACH. And I know, Wilkins, you guys have talked about him a lot on your show, and I know everyone he announced that he was leaving the business. What are your thoughts on that and how he was treated? Because remember, he had his whole, thing with the merch, and he ended up leaving WWE and was very vocal about it. I would just love to hear y'all thoughts on him, black wrestlers sticking up for themselves, speaking up, and kind of wanting to leave the business.
When it comes to ACH, I had my points about him. I kind of still stick by it, but wrestling fans failed him. The industry failed him, and I think we didn't have his back the way he needed. And I think he was going through something mentally and I think the business had a large effect on it. And speaking to wrestlers, knowing wrestlers personally, this business is just like the entertainment business. It chews you up and spits you out. You put your heart and soul in it, and sometimes it's not enough, and they just get rid of you. And I think ACH did what was best for him and for his mental state. And that's just my thought when it comes to ACH. I think he did the best for himself. Like you can't do this anymore, and you're going through his mental grind.
Yeah, I think we saw his mental state between his first retirement when he cut a wild, I guess you call it cutting a promo, or he was just talking and he was like cussing at the camera just really aggressively, and that's when we saw him and we were like, oh nah, it's something else going on there, and you connect that, and then you're like, all right, well, he's got things going on, but then does that take away from the validity of his issue with the t-shirt issue and all that? So I think for fans, it was kind of tough to see exactly what was going on. But I mean, I'll always say this with pro wrestling retirements is I kind of put them in the same category as rap retirements. A lot of rappers retire, and then they don't be retired.
Right, that part. I feel like for HCH, going back to the shirt, I felt like fans didn't make it a big deal for that shirt, and this is just from my point of view, my perspective from how I came in on it. He would have been fine with it, but because somebody pointed out, like, yo, this is like a mockery on blackface, and this is whatever. Then that's when he started, oh, WWE is racist, to live up to that hype. So now when he said, oh, I'm gonna retire again for the second time, I'm just like, you did that the first time, bye. Like, I didn't even know you were back to retire again. You made it this whole big deal, whole big thing over a shirt and WWE and not wrestling and going this way, that way, whatever, to sit here and announce your retirement again. It's like, oh, all right, well.
I just think he's done mentally, bro. Like, I just think, I'm sorry, sis. I just think he's like just out of it. And you have a good point. He made a big deal the first time. I said my thing where he should have handled it differently if there wasn't a real issue, because this is my whole thing. And I've seen it so many times. They were pushing him in NXT at the time, if anybody remembers that. And a lot of times, it didn't happen in NXT, but when you push that one person of color and it messes up, they feel like they can't push nobody else of color after that.
Yeah.
Because of that, what that one person does. And that was my issue. Was like, yo, bro, you should have handled it differently. But I also blame the OGs in the game who are people of color. And I'm not going to say no names, but sometimes they be acting like they there for us, but they really not.
I'll say it. Booker T, Mark Henry. Who else? Because them two right there alone, no, absolutely
yeah,
not.
because they want to be, those gentlemen seem to want to be gatekeepers. If you listen, Mark Henry recently pressed wise. I think he did Renee Paquette. I'm gonna say her right name because I normally don't.
Brother.
I appreciate it. He said there, he was talking about the folks he found, like he said, well, I bought Daniel Bryan and I bought this one and that one, and they wouldn't pay me for it. And that's why he said he went to AEW, because they agreed to kind of pay him in that role. And if you listen to what him and Booker always say, is they kind of want to be the gatekeepers for the black wrestlers. Like, nobody can get to him through me, and they wanna be that dude. So when these folks make it without them, they have something weird to say on a podcast or online, or have something crazy to say backstage.
Like when Booker T said that whole Sasha and Bianca wasn't history making and stuff like that, it took me aback that JBL stepped up and was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? 2 African-American women main eventing a WrestleMania, never been done? Yes, we had the triple threat, but none of them were black. And for JBL to come up and say, and check Booker T, it's like, bruh.
Well, Booker T's a troll.
That was my next thing. I was like, is he trolling us at this? Because he knows the reaction he already gets. He knows the narrative around him. I do think at this point he just says shit to say shit.
I think Eva, what do you guys think about this?
Booker T reminds me of the uncle at the cookout, always talking mess, that you just kind of like, all right, Unc, all right, cool, all right.
Go sit down. Go get him another plate. Go sit down.
Like, I appreciate everything you've done, but
he's not even invited to the cookout. He's sitting in the car.
Eva, we've talked about Booker T and even his comments on Naomi, and all of that. Like, do you think that they're for the other black wrestlers, or
they're not there? They're for securing their own checks. That's what Mark Henry is doing. Mark Henry left WWE to secure a check. He's like, oh, WWE, you don't want to pay me what I think I'm worth? Let me go find AEW, who's so happy spending money and who kept calling, we're going to be diverse. We're going to be diverse. Their diversity is nowhere to be seen.
We can have that conversation later because I got some shit to say about the Revolution.
I got a dare coming and she black and she white.
I do feel like we should have another like live show simply about that. Because one of the things I did want to talk about today, because it's all still June and it's still Pride Month, was being Black and queer in wrestling. And AEW does have Sonny Kiss being his authentic self. They do have Nyla Rose, a transgender woman, as a women's champion, and that's something that WWE probably would never have.
Nope. I'll give them that.
But they have booked her criminally. AEW should be locked up for when they booked Nyla Rose. Locked up.
Wait, please elaborate.
So they came in. Here's the thing: is you have like this isn't a secret. Like you have the first, I guess overly trans lady, and she comes in, and you put her toward the top of the card, but you don't have her winning. You don't have her in any like solid feuds. They didn't really have a great women's division to begin with. But then you come in your first night and you put what was the little Asian chick that they had?
Rio.
Rio.
It was Rio, right? Yeah.
And they put her over. They put her over Nyla Rose, which I guess so. But then they never, like she could have beat the stuffing out that girl. Like you took all the realism out of that. Sonny Kiss has been relegated to AEW Darky on Monday. On Tuesday nights. Their diversity is a lie.
This is what it is.
Seems performative. Go ahead, Wilkins.
100%.
This is what it is for me. When it comes to Nyla Rose, they're scared. They're absolutely scared. Because at the end of the day, all of us here are people of color, and we love wrestling. Mm-hmm. But what is the main type of people that watch wrestling? Middle America, real, conservative people. They're scared of what to do with Nyla. That's number one. Number two, I go back to what I said. I put my homies on. Kenny runs the women's division. And you know what? I'm going to put my homies on from Japan over here. And I got nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to bring these women from Japan in, make sure they connect to the American audience. Because Shinsuke Nakamura, that man don't do nothing, but he hitting. He's like a mumble rapper's song. You don't know what's going on, but you bopping your head crazy to the song.
That's
I rock, yeah, 100%.
And when you look at this women's division, it's filled with Japanese wrestlers who can go in the ring, but their character is not connecting to this American audience. Now you have Nyla Rose, who could be what you guys talk about being the revolution in professional wrestling. Why is she pushed more? Whatever the issue is, fix it. If you think she could be better in the ring, you have a ton of vets in the back. Hey, Nyla, you've been assigned to Dusty Rhodes. You're gonna work with him for the next 3 to 4 months to get better in the ring. Your promos, okay, we got Jake the Snake over there. Let's work on some promo skills with him. They have the tools, but they don't want to do it. They're scared to put Nyla up top because you know what, they're gonna get the backlash back. Yeah. But you know what? Enjoy that backlash because you know what's gonna happen? More promo, more eyes on the product,
more money.
And you know what? She deserves it.
I agree. I completely agree.
But that's just my thing. And I like Sonny Kiss a lot. He should be doing more. Super athletic. There's so much he can do. But you know what? I don't run the company. I'm just going to talk shit about it.
Right. I do think they should have Sonny Kiss on Dynamite way more because he's so good to watch in the ring. But I think it's what Wilkins said. It's a lot of that fear of especially now that AEW is kind of moving more up in the mainstream. You know, they talked about, and I do feel like a lot of their creation was, we're going to do everything better that WWE doesn't do. So when y'all was doing these press conferences a couple years ago, it was all about diversity because that's what people were complaining about WWE for. But then it's like, did y'all really deliver that? Or did you guys say like, okay, we do have someone on the roster, we do have this, but did y'all really deliver on that diversity thing? I don't necessarily think so.
Not at all.
I think AEW is really good at checking boxes, but not fulfilling on the promises. They're like, oh, we have women, we have diversity, we have queers, we have everything you want from the other companies. We have it, but we're not going to give it to you. It's there. We're not going to give it to you.
Right. That part.
Yep.
I'm hopping off because, you know, my schedule never stops.
Thank you for coming in, Krista B.
No problem. Love you guys. See you later.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
So there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you guys had any more points about just Black queers in wrestling and just that sort of representation. We did go ahead.
I think it's something I said before. We as fans, we know we complain there's not enough women's wrestling on main television shows like AEW, WWE, but I wish fans in general would start looking at the independent scene, where there's so much women's wrestling. It's kind of like, damn, it's my plate is full. And when it comes to the queer community, is that the right word I'm using? Or the gay community, which I don't know, I don't want to disrespect anybody. There's so much of that going on. Like, Paris is bumping. We're about to go to that show in a couple of weeks. They did another show. I forgot what it was, but it was like borderline death matches, and it was an all gay roster. And this stuff is out there.
Yeah.
And you know what people got to understand? When you start loving the indies more, the bigger companies will follow suit. Why do you think CM Punk got onto WWE? Because people started loving the independence. Like, ROH is not really independent, but it's a smaller promotion. They started seeing what ROH was doing, all this New Japan stuff, all the independent scene, and then you saw an influx of independent wrestlers come to these companies. We as fans need to start showing more love to the independent scene. Now that things are opening up, go to these independent shows, because you're going to get more people that look like you and follow the lifestyle of you at these independent shows, and it's time to bring them up and shine some more lights on them. So that's just my little take on that before we move on.
No, you're 100% right. And I'm going to let Julian and Eva get a word in as well. But, you know, you guys know I'm WWE. Like, that's what I grew up on. I was primarily, that's what I watched. That's what our podcast was inspired by, the women's evolution. I hate that I have to do that shit, but fuck that. And I even took a second. Wilkins, you did one of your coffee talks, and you basically said the same thing. Like, you know, you guys are complaining about what the major promotions aren't doing, but all of that is happening on the independents. And I had to take a second and be like, you know what? I reached out to the girl that's doing Black Girl Magic show. Shout out to that, which I can go on the 26th. It was like, how can my platform be of value to you? You know, I reached out to the Paris is Bumping people. It was just like, you know what? Our platform was dedicated to this, but they're not meeting what we want and what we need. How can this platform be of use to you? So I just have to say, as a, you know, because people came for us when we first came out because we didn't watch other promotions. And I wanted to take a second to say, like, we are going to start paying more attention to the indies and being a platform for more indie female talent and queer talent. Because like you said, Wilkins, it's abundance of it out there. It's just not on TV. That's, you know.
Yeah. Ladies.
And I think supporting them, like actually supporting, and once they reach that, like WWE, ROH, New Japan, anywhere, like actually show, it's sad, but you have to show up with your dollars. You vote with your dollars. So like invest in t-shirts and however you can, because we all know like the pandemic has hit us all differently.
Right.
So what you can support them actually, because that's also the big issue. It's like, oh, why do people not transition well from NXT to Raw and SmackDown? It's like, first it's creative, and then second it's the fans. We drop off with them as well.
Right. That's true. That's 100% true.
I got a client I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate
welcome.
you guys.
Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too. I might see you tomorrow night.
All right, no problem, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye. So I think that is a really good place to sort of like conclude this fan club. I think we got into like a lot of important things that I feel like needed to be talked about. Thank you everyone for joining us. I do want to do a couple shout outs. I want to shout out, of course, Black Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Salute to that BRP 50. Watch their top 10 reveal. It is so entertaining and funny as usual. I want to shout out Smackin' and Raw Podcast. They actually turned 2 years old, and I think I might have that backwards. But they are celebrating a milestone, and I just want to give a few shout outs to them, their family. Yeah, I think that's all of the shout outs that I had to give. Jewel, you are new to our sort of podcast family. You are officially a member of Those Wrestling Girls family. And you are a Twitch queen, and we like to give props to Black women that are in white male-dominated spaces. So can you sort of introduce yourself to our community and your channel and a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Jewel. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm a variety streamer. Right now, I'm streaming Spider-Man, Miles Morales, which is fantastic. I'm playing a lot of Knockout City. I build Legos. I just kind of do everything, and I really just try to share my interests with everyone else. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thebejeweled. That's Jewel with 2 L's, because twice is awesome. But yeah, come check me out.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us, Jewel, because I know you were like, I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And I think you did wonderful, and I hope you can join us for like future live shows.
Thanks. This was a lot of fun. I love talking about wrestling.
Right. right. So where can everyone find you guys? I know I kind of plug Black Wrestling, but please let us know. Do your plugs.
Oh, me? I don't know. I talk about wrestling once a week with some interesting guys that I love and hate all at the same time. Shout out to Mav. Shout out to Drip. Shout out to Cal. At Black Wrestling, and that's RASSLIN. That is not an accent. RASSLIN. Black Wrestling is how you say it and how you type it. Black Wrestling, blackwrestling.com. I'm IlFam79. You can also catch me on the Wes Bucky podcast, which is a pop culture podcast, men's lifestyle, blah blah blah. That's basically it, man. IlFam79 on your social media too.
Appreciate you, bro. Eva.
Hi, you can normally catch me here on Those Wrestling Girls. And in real life, I am all about business consulting, so helping people become profitable, scalable, and sustainable. And that's the passion.
I love it. And I will, as always, put a link to Eva's business in the description. I, myself and Krista B, consult with her on our business, so I highly recommend her. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us for another edition of TWG Fan Club with Queen PR, our monthly live show where we just talk shit about current wrestling topics. We love you all. Thank you for supporting. Oh, we have a logo design contest. Make sure you submit your logo designs for that. You can win a lot of different stuff.
I don't know how you're picking. I've seen some of the entries and they're
so hard. I know it's so hard. We have a Juneteenth merch sale. Use the code TWG June 19 and get some of our merch for 25% off. And check out our recent episodes. And thank you for supporting us. We love you.